the President of the United States.
One Democrat instantly self-immolated. Several threw Molotov cocktails at the dais. And what's his name? Al Green, not the singer. He's not a good singer, that guy. He's out there. What did his sign say? He had a sign, and he was escorted out. Black people aren't apes. He said, black people aren't apes. Democrats getting things rolling, and he was ushered out. He marched out. He's protesting. The Democrat Party is the third world living among us. It's a little ironic having Al Green holding that sign, too, and being escorted. He's like a cartoon from the 1940s of Cro-Magnon Man. But that's not important now. And we had really stellar performances. First of all, President Trump's speech was a great speech. It was one for the record books, quite literally one for the record books. It was the longest State of the Union address ever given. I think I saw an hour and 48 minutes, and longer than Bill Clinton's famous then longest, and until last night, longest State of the Union speech ever. And he was mocked and ridiculed, and people were laughing. And when he finally finished, there was a round of applause from everybody in the chamber. It's like, oh, he's finishing. And he's like, well, and in conclusion, Bill Clinton wrapping up his never-ending State of the Union speech, President Trump exceeded that time limit, not a limit, but that time last night. And I got to say, his speech, my best girl and I, we were up watching it. We were glued to it. We were mesmerized. We were enjoying snacks. We had a very nice time watching the speech last night and making fun of the Democrats. And we got a DVR. Have you seen these DVRs? They're really something. And the patriarchy came up with those. And you can stop. You can pause the video that you're watching in real time. It's amazing. You can go back, seconds or minutes, and you can watch. We actually found ourselves toward the end of the speech. We realized we were about 22 minutes behind the real time because we kept going back and watching that over again and laughing and having fun. And look at the insane Democrats and Ilhan Omar, she showed up, this was kind of weird, on camelback with an AK-47 and bandoleros across her chest of ammunition. Or maybe it was a suicide vest, it's hard to say. And then she's screaming, this person who should get down on her knees and kiss the ground in the United States of America every single day, even if that's unclean to Islam, should do that. And it's just she just yells and shouts and screams and condemns America. She is a third worlder. She should be, I don't know, what is it, bananas and rice? Was that the diet that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago for Somalis? She really ought to go back to Somalia, where an AK-47 and bandoleros would be more natural, as her father and so many family members have been pictured in the past, because they're jihadis. And the Democrats, they got the jihadi there, and Ilhan Omar sitting next to Rashida Tlaib, who's a radical, and she's just a complete radical and a vicious anti-American racist lunatic. And the Democrats applaud this. They think it makes them open-minded. They're so open-minded the brains fell out long ago. But she's wearing a giant button, not quite the size of her face, but almost, and it had a curse word on it, the F word that they all love to use, like they're 5-year-olds that just learned a word that shocks people, and you'll never guess what the second word was on the big black button with the white writing. Beep Trump, and it's because they have this obsession, like children, with new words that they think they've learned, but they don't understand. And it was great, actually. It was a troika of sorts, because you had Ilhan Omar, absolute jihadi, sitting next to Rashida Tlaib, wannabe jihadi, and maybe an actual jihadi too. And right in front of them was the transgender, the man who is a man and not a woman, but he tells everybody, my name is Tim, but I want you to call me Sarah. Call me Sarah, but your name is Tim. Why would I call you Sarah? Because I'm a lady now. I want to be called Loretta. I want to have a baby. And that's, so they got this tranny who is obviously severely mentally ill, and all this crazy stuff. And right behind the tranny, who's dressed like a lady but is really a man, there's Ilhan Omar. This is the Democrat Party. the hat trick, the tricorn hat of the Democrat Party. You've got Ilhan Omar. Were it not for the United States, black scorpions would be crawling over her sun-bleached bones in the wind-blown deserts of Somalia, whatever hellhole, and an amazing. But she doesn't thank us. She attacks us. She's waging jihad against us. She rushes down the hill on horseback at the train, yelling, "No prisoners, no prisoners." She's nuts. And Rashida Tlaib, who's completely insane, too. And then, which one's crazier? I don't know. There's a tranny sitting right in front of both of them. This is the Congress of the United States of America. We had the Supreme Court was there, the members of the Supreme Court. We had the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is the highest level of government on Earth, on planet Earth, quite literally. And the Democrats send us Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and a guy named, what's his name? A guy named Sarah. And a man named Sarah. And this is the Congress. And the Democrats applaud and say, we're so open-minded. You know, your skull case is like a bowl of soup for Dr. Lecter, I think. You people are out of your stinking minds. But so the Democrats came out, and they say, hey, there's a lady here who's a Ukrainian lady, and her Ukrainian daughter escaped the war in Ukraine and came to the United States. And then a Democrat surprised her from behind on a trolley train in North Carolina and slashed her throat and cut her up like Dr. Lecter again. And President Trump pointed out the mother of this poor young woman that was butchered by a savage. And the Democrats sit there on their hands because Hakeem Jeffries is another anti-Semite jihadi, bloodthirsty ghoul of the left. And aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. So the Democrat highlights were them behaving as miscreants, as they normally do. And President Trump was en fuego. And every now and then he's stopping. He's like, "Really, you're not gonna clap at that? You don't?" And he was shocked. It's like, "Oh, wait a minute. So you're pro-murder? You're not against. You're not for reducing murder?" And the answer is no, we're not for reducing murder. We are the murder people, the Democrats are saying out loud. We're pro-murder. We're pro-illegal alien gang members. They're pro-everything bad. And they're not pro-America. They're not pro-United States America. The hockey team, the Olympic gold medal hockey team, the men, because the women, they said they refused to show, well, they were too busy. They put out a statement saying, we have academic obligations and appointments, and we have professional appointments and obligations. And so we couldn't possibly come to the White House and go to the State of the Union, whereas the men's hockey team did. They're men, and the ladies' hockey team, they no. But where are they going, Michael? They're going to Las Vegas to hang out with who? Yeah, with Flava Flav. I didn't even know Flava Flav was still alive, but Flava Flav, who was a rap hip-hop guy 20 years ago, and then he got in some trouble for sexual assault and domestic abuse, the usual Democrat Party stuff. And forget about Jeffrey Epstein. Look at the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is Epstein Island. Wherever that party goes, they're Epstein Island. But it was something to see. The whole thing was something to see. And President Trump was great, and he went out for a long time, and it was great. It was fun the whole time. Now here's my proposal. This is my proposal, and I was going back and forth with one of my brothers last night on this, and here's what we decided. President Trump. I hope you watched last night because it was something, and it did go late, but. Hey, I had to get up early, and I stayed up late. We couldn't stop watching. It was such fun to watch, and it really was. And it's like I didn't even notice how long it was going on until it was so long, and I was like, wow, look at the time. That's flying right by. President made it very entertaining. But here's my brother and I. We decided last night, Trump should do this every night. This should happen every night, at least 5 days a week. This should happen. President Trump should drive in the motorcade up to the Capitol and tell whoever wants to show up can show up, and the president can go into the room. And if the Democrats don't want to show up, which they wouldn't because they're communists and jihadis and anti-Semites, and they're violent and they're criminally insane and they're anti-American. They're Democrats. That's the shorthand term that we use now is Democrats. And I got to tell you, the president should show up at the House chamber every night, let the networks know that he's going to be there. bring in, if the Democrats don't want to show, just bring in people that are touring the Capitol. Hey, the president's about to speak in the House chamber. Want to come see the president speak? And he could go for 2 hours every night and do Rodney Dangerfield jokes and do all kinds of shtick and make fun of the Democrats even if they're not there. And although it was a good deal making fun of them last night while they were there, it was a lot of fun. But I think President Trump should do it every night, 2 hours a night, live from the Capitol. It's Donald Trump. We'll have to have a theme song and stuff and maybe colorful curtains behind the dais there. That's a fun thing. We're at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. And honestly, I think Trump every night, a State of the Union every night, come out and say, hey, the State of the Union is strong, just like I said last night. And here's what the Democrats are doing now. And he could do 2 hours like that easily. It's great. The news media, they're angry about everything. Here's the Fox News headline. Trump shatters Clinton's 26-year-old record for longest State of the Union address. I saw that. I thought it was funny. I immediately shared it with friends of mine who, we were friends who were covering the Clinton administration, the Clinton White House, and things like that. And we all laughed because, it's great. And a lefty from the United Kingdom, there's a newspaper from the United Kingdom, but the dwarf-like Robert Reich, did you know that his father was Robert Reich and his grandfather was Robert Reich? Did you know that? And he's Robert Reich III. He's Robert Reich III. But here it is. He wrote a piece in a foreign newspaper, and he was a Clinton administration official, cabinet member. And here he is. Why I'm not watching the State of the Union, and you shouldn't either. That's his Robert III Reich. He is why I'm not watching the State of the Union. It's Trump derangement. I'll just save the drama. It's Trump derangement syndrome because he's a dwarf, like an angry dwarf. Isn't that the old term that was used, angry dwarf? He's just another angry dwarf. And this guy, I'm telling you, why I'm not watching the State of the Union, and you shouldn't either. I tell you why I am watching the State of the Union and why you should too, angry little dwarf. Go back to your bridge. Go back to your acorn. Where's your scythe? Get out of here. So we got that. And Ilhan Omar is screaming at the top of her lungs in some kind of primitive, pre-literate tribal language. She was screaming, Ilhan Omar tries to shout down Trump's immigration attacks. That's CNN. Well, they weren't immigration attacks. He was saying, hey, we have immigration laws. We should enforce them. And Ilhan Omar yells, you have killed Americans. You guys harvest the organs of 1 million babies a year. Plus, in a good year, they get over 1 million. They think that's pretty good stuff. They get the organs. What they do with them, nobody's sure. We probably don't want to know because, they might be eating them or flossing with them. It's hard to say. But Joseph Mengele, the evil doctor from the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, would be very happy with what the Democrat Party has become in the United States. There's no doubt about that. So would Joseph Goebbels, Gurgle, as they call him at NBC News. He'd be very happy with where the Democrats are. You have killed Americans. They must be talking about the Democrat heroes of Renee Good, who crashed her car into a federal law enforcement officer while disrupting and obstructing federal law enforcement in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then their next hero was Alex Pretty, who brought his 9mm gun. Was it a Sig Sauer? I think it was a Sig Sauer. 9mm Sig Sauer and an extra magazine to the latest riot that the Democrats were staging. And he brought his gun twice, and on both occasions he violently attacked and assaulted federal law enforcement. Second time he was shot and killed. Maybe that's what the jihadi, the beetle-eating jihadi Ilhan Omar, maybe that's what she was yelling about. You've killed Americans. Well, first of all, it wasn't him. It was federal law enforcement. That's like saying, hey, Ilhan Omar, you've shot out 280 people in Chicago so far this year because, you're a lunatic Democrat and all that stuff. Go to Hey Jackass to get the latest on how many people the Democrats have shot in Chicago. Yeah, you're killing Americans. Honestly, almost every murder in the country every year is perpetrated by a Democrat. But never mind that. The Democrats, they're mental. And I got to say, if you're a Democrat, What is wrong with you? I'd be happy to listen to your explanation, but liberals can't explain themselves. So they don't call in here. They know they'd sound like complete idiots. Here they are. And so there. So what do we have? Total number of people shot in Chicago this year. It's February. 211. 211. But, they're concerned about Renee Good and Alex Pretty because, as their man Joseph Stalin famously said, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths are a statistic. That's the Democrat Party today. That's right, 211 shot in Chicago so far this year. Not sure if they updated last night data. How many days? How many is that a day? How many people shot? 47 shot and killed, 164 shot and wounded. And she's screaming, "You're killing Americans?" You guys need new medications from Big Pharma. 888-630-9625.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
All right, yeah, and we got Al Green, the untalented Al Green, not the greatly, immensely talented Al Green, but Al Green, who looks like a cartoon character of a primitive man, and he held up a sign that says, "Black people aren't apes." Black people aren't apes. Well, then the Democrat Party should stop treating them that way at long last. What do you think? How many centuries is it going to take for the Democrats to pull out of this? Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Money, calling from Columbia, Maryland. Money, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes. Good morning, Chris Plant.
Good morning, Money.
What I watched last night was a bunch of nouveau riche who have arrived to America that they cannot understand because they don't know the culture and they don't have any civilization.
Yes. I'll stop you if I hear anything that's not obviously true.
Well, this is, it's amazing to me that the women who are still covering their head.
Like Ilhan Omar, right?
Yes. Covering their head. They come to America with their heads covered. And wherever they create a society, what they do is crime.
Well, they're hostile to our culture. They're absolutely hostile to our culture. Yeah, the insider trading moment was fun, and Nancy Pelosi, who is a miracle investor, honestly, Warren Buffett just started this last week compared to Nancy Pelosi. Her margins, her earnings just off the charts. There is not an investment firm in the country that did as well as Nancy Pelosi and her husband, who they call Midnight Hammer. They call Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was the name of President Trump's strikes, military strikes, B-2 bombers on Iran's nuclear weapons program. It was called Midnight Hammer. And I got to say, I think he might have been making fun of Paul Pelosi. I think maybe the National Military Command Center, where they come up with the operational names, might have, hey, well, let's call it Midnight Hammer. And they all laughed because, Paul Pelosi, he's just minding his own business at home one night in San Francisco when a Democrat showed up with a hammer and at about midnight and hit him in the head. Midnight Hammer. Then they called the operation in Iran Midnight Hammer. And I thought, that's kind of insensitive to Paul Pelosi, isn't it? Very sad. But there it is. All right, before we get back to the president, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and the mental illness, that is, membership in the Democrat Party. And they're nuts. Ilhan Omar, are you kidding me? And you've got Rashida Tlaib sitting side by side, and it gets even worse. They should have a T-shirt with a picture of the Yeah, just unbelievable. All right, let's go back to the telephones before we go to the audio of the lunatics and of President Trump, who was just great last night and in rare form. He really was, and he was disciplined and he was focused and he was having a good time and he was making fun of the Democrats, and they gave hundreds of opportunities to make fun of the Democrats. All right, but right now, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. We're at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Bob calling from Tacoma Park, Maryland. Oh, Bob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Senor Planti. So I thought it was perfect to have those three bumps on a log next to each other like that, because you had the Congresswoman.
Wait, which three bumps on a log are you talking about now?
The three bumps in question were Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Omar, and Congress McBride.
Congress McBride, because he has male genitalia but dresses like a lady and says, call me Loretta. Actually, he says, what does he say? Call me Sarah. Call me Sarah. But Loretta is better because it's right out of the Monty Python movie.
Well, he plans on keeping the fetus in a cardboard box.
Exactly right. What do you do? Put it in a box? You haven't got a womb. You haven't got ovaries. You're going to have that child. But that's where and you're absolutely right. And I was looking at them, and my best girl and I were talking. I'm like, wait a minute. They got a crazy jihadi Rashida Tlaib and the Black Scorpion, beetle munching Ilhan Omar next to her, I guess her. And then in front of them, you've got, as you said, the Congress and Congress them is this McBride person, just an embarrassment. And he says, call me Tim, and all the Democrats say, okay, we'll call you Tim, because they're entertaining his mental illness. And the Democrats put these people in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, in the United States of America, in Washington, D.C., the best and the brightest. The Senate used to be known as the greatest deliberative body on the face of the earth. And now it's a cross-dressing, autoerotic asphyxiation circle fest in a hot tub, if I may.
I think you're being too tame in your description.
Probably. It's not easy. They've made it more difficult these days. They really have. But Nancy Pelosi, Bob, did you see the Nancy Pelosi part last night where the president's talking about ending insider trading in Congress? And again, let's look at this. Hang in there with me, Bob, because I want to play two sound bites, I think. But here's the money-wise people at Yahoo Finance with the headline, and this is great. Nancy Pelosi posted up a staggering 16,930% return on investment, beat the market by 581%. 581%. And everybody, there's actually a website out there that kind of started as a little bit of a joke, but it's become very popular. These people who say they're following what the Nancy Pelosi.
But you can't follow her when she's ahead of the curve.
That's exactly right. She's already made the move by the time we find out about it. And but she and Midnight Hammer, his code name is Midnight Hammer. She and her husband Paul Pelosi, Midnight Hammer, they do so well. They own, and they all do. Gavin Newsom and the Democrats. They own wineries. They own vineyards. They own jets. They own.
I think Ilhan Omar owns a winery that doesn't even exist.
That wouldn't be at all surprising. Bruce Springsteen is a farmer on an estate in New Jersey, and they plant some mung beans in the corner. He's got slave labor tending to it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a farmer." So he takes all the farmer tax deductions for his New Jersey estate. They're fundamentally corrupt.
The only
people.
Migrant farm workers in New Jersey are harvesting beans on the Springsteen estate.
Yeah, right. That's about right. All right, now listen to this. Hang on for this, Bob, because here is President Trump. He's talking about the insider trading stuff, and there's some discussion on Capitol Hill to make it illegal for members of Congress to trade on all their insider information and to get the kind of returns that Nancy Pelosi and her husband Midnight Hammer are getting all over the place because they're nuts. But this was last night. The president.
Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
It's not an enthusiastic round of applause, but some Democrats applauded.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it.
Some Democrats.
I can't believe it.
They sat there most of the time, of course.
Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Pass the Insider Trading Act without delay. Without delay, I tell you. And where's Nancy Pelosi? Is Nancy Pelosi?
Not a moment too soon for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, it won't affect her now.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she can even vote for it because she can just deny the people following in her Bruno Mali footsteps. I don't know. Do women wear Bruno Mali? I don't know. What do they wear? What kind of fancy shoes do they wear? Fancy, those ones with the red soles and things like that. What are those?
Right.
They have fancy stuff. Yeah. Well, I don't know what they are. Louis Vuitton is always. I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't buy women's shoes. We'll have to. Are there any Democrat men around here because they wear women's shoes? The Democrat people. But that's Bob. It was a long speech and it went late, didn't it, Bob?
You know, he had a lot to say.
He did have a lot to say. And I got to say, he didn't waste a lot of time. He didn't deviate from the script frequently. He just pointed out the Democrats, they're not going to stand up for that one. They're not doing that. Nuh-uh. Pretty amazing stuff. And normal, you got number 3, right? Let's go to soundbite number 3. Soundbite numero tres, as the Democrats say, because they want to have a non-English speaking country called the United States of America. The fundamental transformation that Barack Obama had threatened, and the Democrats are carrying it out. They're going to kidnap everybody's children soon and kill your dogs. But this is just what they say about everybody, because they're Hitler, because they're Pol Pot, because they're President Trump talking about the State of the Union. Why does he like the State of the Union? Well, it can lead to all kinds of fun things.
One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. The Democrats are all seated. I don't think a single Democrat stood up for this. Protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. And the Communist Party, the Soviet Union, they sat there on their hands or somebody else's hands. If they could arrange using somebody else's hands. Now, this is the Republicans standing up. First duty of the American government is to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. Republicans they're in favor of this, I think we can conclude. And you have to see the video, because the audio doesn't do it justice. The Democrats are all sitting there on someone else's hands with a weird little smile on their faces. All of them had kind of a strange little twitchy smile because they, years ago, became tired of sitting on their hands. Now, to make it more interesting, they're sitting on other people's hands, sitting on the hands of the Democrats next to them. They're not moving. Now, the Republicans are still cheering. Yes, protect American citizens. Laken Riley, Joycelyn Nungaray, save American womanhood. And the Democrat Party, they're sitting there. They're scowling. They're being bitter and angry, sitting on their own hands or the hands of someone near them. And the news media, they don't know what to do. They say, God, what are we? Those Republicans are really Hitler over there. They want to protect American citizens. And the Democrats, here's what they said, and President Trump said it gives the American people a chance to see what their representatives believe. And when you say the job of the government is to protect American citizens first and not illegal aliens, the Democrats very clearly expressed their disapproval of that suggestion, of that statement. And they made it clear that they do not believe that the first role of the American government, the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. The Democrat Party made it clear They are 100% in the lubricated hacky sack in the sleeping bag with the illegal alien gang members of Tren de Aragua and MS-13, of the human traffickers and the child sex traffickers. The Democrats want more rape trees south of our border, strewn with the underwear of women and girls that have been sexually assaulted along the way. And that's why they take birth control pills down to the age of like 10 years old, when Democrats and their allies are smuggling these children up across our border so that they can be abused here in myriad ways. Because the Democrats, they're the left. They love abuse. They love the bullwhip and Robert Mapplethorpe. But that's not important now. So there is, and every single Democrat sat there through all of that. They're like, we can't endorse that. Protecting American citizens? We're not in favor of that. Not illegal aliens? We're not in favor of that. And they made it clear that they might as well be an invading army from Somalia. The third world is taking over the United States of America because the Democrat Party is arranging it. They're facilitating it. Barack Obama, again, told us, don't worry about illegal aliens learning to speak English. He's had immigrants, but he meant illegal aliens. Don't worry about illegal aliens learning to speak English. They'll learn to speak English. You teach your kids to speak Spanish. Now, why would the Democrat Party say that? Why would Barack Obama, the leader of the Democrat Party, say that?
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
Yeah, because you're going to have in-house servants, because we're becoming like a third world Latin American country where you have to build a wall around your property and put shards of broken glass on the top of the wall in the mortar, so it makes it less appealing to climb over. The Democrat Party, aren't they amazing? And you remember Barack Obama told us that what his goal was to fundamentally transform the United States of America, the fundamental transformation of America forever and ever.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Then he killed a dog and ate it. Ate it raw. Pretty crazy stuff. But President Trump, back to the Democrats sitting for, I think it was 2 minutes of applause when the president said the duty of the American government is first to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. The Democrats expressed their disapproval, their disagreement, and President Trump he's got, and they're still going on. And here comes Ilhan Omar. Here comes Ilhan Omar. And she is screaming at was she shackled into her seat? Maybe she should have been strapped into her seat or something, like it's an amusement park ride. But she's standing up and cupping her hand around her mouth and screaming angrily at the top of her lungs, like any liberal woman in America today, screaming at their phone in their cars about how everybody has to die and stuff. There's something wrong with the brains of Democrat women, that's for sure. So Ilhan Omar sitting next to Rashida Tlaib and in front of Tim McBride, who says that his real name is Sarah McBride when it isn't. He just made that up one demented day. And they got this little tricorn hat of lunatics together in the hall in the House of Representatives. And these are elected Democrats in the House of Representatives in the United States of America, not some third world backwater town. President Trump, and here comes Ilhan Omar yelling.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords,
Ilhan Omar.
Murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
And you should be ashamed of yourself. And Ilhan Omar, she's on a camel. She has a scimitar in her hand. She has a human head hanging off of her saddlebags. She's a complete jihadi. And the Republicans are chanting USA. The Democrats are scowling and being angry and, kidnapping children. They are the jihad living among us. They are the Soviet Union living among us. Last night, about halfway through the State of the Union address, it was just my best girl and I. We were at home having the time of our lives, having a wonderful time. I said, these people are the Soviet Union. Now look at them sitting there. They look like the Soviets. They smell like the Soviets. They groom like the Soviets. Man, what are Democrat women? No, I can't even tell that joke. All right, let us go back to the phones. People want to talk about the State of the Union address last night, the president and the Democrats, such as they are. Let's go to Randy, calling from Rogers, Arkansas. Randall, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Randy.
You saw, as I did last night, that all the Republicans stood up, and I didn't see any Democrats. I kind of thought Fetterman might, but I don't know where he sits. And the camera angle I had was from the back. And if he sat just over the aisle from the Republicans, there could have been somebody standing there that looked like maybe part of the Republican group. But he was incognito. He had a suit and tie on, so. Yeah,
that's right. That's a disguise for him.
I wondered if you knew if he stood up.
I didn't see him, I've got to say. But it would be hard to recognize him in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
Might get lost in the crowd.
I wanted to point out that up in the gallery where, all the citizens that were there were sitting, everyone in the gallery, it appeared, stood up as well. So the regular people and the Republicans stood up. I didn't see a single Democrat stand up.
Well, and it wasn't, I got to tell you, Randy, it was time after time. It was moment after moment. And there are big moments like, are you for killing Americans? And are you for stopping the murder of Americans? And the Republicans said, we're against the murder of Americans. And the Democrats said, well, we're kind of in favor of murder.